The sun dipped behind the rugged peaks, casting long shadows over the village of Montañas. A chill settled in the air, and the villagers hurried to their homes, locking doors and windows as night approached. The village had always held an air of mystery, with ancient stone houses and narrow, winding streets that seemed to whisper secrets from the past. But one house, perched on the outskirts, was shunned by all. The Casa de Sombra had been abandoned for decades, its once grand facade now crumbling, overtaken by ivy and decay. Locals whispered about the tragic history of the Silva family, who had once called the house their home. It was said that the family had been cursed after committing an unspeakable act, and the spirits of those wronged still lingered, seeking retribution. Isabel, a young woman in her 20s, had recently moved to Montañas with her husband, Daniel. The couple was drawn to the village's old-world charm and the promise of a quiet life away from the bustling city. They had purchased a small cottage not far from the Casa de Sombra, unaware of the dark history that shadowed their new home. One evening, as Isabel walked home from the village market, she felt a strange pull towards the abandoned house. The wind howled through the trees, and the air grew colder as she approached the wrought iron gate. She hesitated, feeling an unnatural presence, but curiosity got the better of her. Pushing open the gate, she stepped onto the overgrown path that led to the front door. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway. Dust danced in the beams of the setting sun, and the floorboards groaned under Isabel's feet. She wandered through the rooms, each one more decrepit than the last. Old family portraits lined the walls, their eyes seemingly following her every move. She shivered and turned to leave when a sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut behind her. Panicking, Isabel tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The temperature dropped, and the once faint whispers in the house grew louder, more menacing. "Leave," a voice hissed in her ear. She spun around, but no one was there. Fear gripped her heart as the whispers turned into screams, echoing through the halls. Desperate to escape, Isabel stumbled through the house, searching for another exit. She entered a small room at the back of the house and froze. In the center of the room was a large, ornate mirror, its surface cracked and stained with age. But it wasn't the mirror that terrified her. It was the reflection. The room in the mirror was not the one she stood in. Instead, it showed a scene from the past. The Silva family was gathered in the room, their faces twisted in anger and fear. Isabel watched in horror as a man, presumably the family patriarch, raised a dagger and plunged it into the chest of a woman who looked strikingly like her. The woman's screams echoed through the room as blood pooled around her. The family watched in silence, their faces cold and emotionless. The reflection then shifted, showing the aftermath of the murder. The patriarch was now alone, his hands covered in blood, as he stared at the mirror with hollow eyes. "The price must be paid," he muttered, before turning the dagger on himself. Isabel's heart raced as she realized she was witnessing the moment the curse had been born. The woman in the mirror was an innocent victim, sacrificed in a ritual to protect the family's wealth and power. The spirits of the wronged had cursed the family, dooming them to suffer for eternity. And now, the curse had latched onto Isabel, drawn by her uncanny resemblance to the murdered woman. The room grew colder, and Isabel felt a heavy hand on her shoulder. She turned to see the spectral figure of the murdered woman, her face pale and eyes full of sorrow. "You must break the curse," the ghost whispered, "end the cycle of blood and pain." Isabel nodded, her mind racing. She had to find a way to lift the curse before it consumed her and her husband. She fled the house, the whispers following her until she burst through the front door into the night air. The village was quiet, the only sound being the distant howl of the wind. Back at the cottage, Isabel frantically searched for any information about the Silva family. She discovered old records and journals hidden away in the attic, detailing the family's history of greed and betrayal. The curse, she learned, could only be broken by returning the stolen wealth to its rightful owners and performing a ritual of forgiveness. With Daniel's help, Isabel tracked down the descendants of those wronged by the Silva family. They returned the stolen riches and gathered at the Casa de Sombra to perform the ritual. As they chanted the ancient words, the house trembled, and the spirits of the past appeared, their faces no longer twisted in anger, but in relief. The air grew still, and the temperature rose as the curse was lifted. The spirits faded away, leaving behind a sense of peace that had not been felt in the village for centuries. The Casa de Sombra, once a place of darkness, was now bathed in light as the first rays of dawn broke over the mountains. Isabel and Daniel stood in the now quiet house, holding each other close. They had faced the horrors of the past and emerged stronger, their love a beacon in the darkness. The village of Montañas, too, was forever changed, its long-held secrets finally laid to rest. As they left the house for the last time, Isabel glanced back at the mirror. The reflection showed only her and Daniel, standing together, free from the shadows of the past. She smiled, knowing that the price of the past had finally been